him bleeding. He was afraid for him too. They took Ezra in an ambulance. They took Ezra in a helicopter. They put Ezra into the emergency room. They put Ezra into the operating room. Hours later, they took the tube from his throat. Hours later, he opened his eyes. Hoarsely, he whispered, "Jonah?" He knew already when we told him. Jonah is not here with us anymore. It is the where I wonder about. Several Sundays before, I was watching our local pro football team lose a particularly aggravating game. I went out in the autumn night and began mowing the autumn lawn with a 1-month-old lawnmower, purchased after I ran over a drain cover with our previous 1-month-old lawnmower, to be told when I attempted to have it repaired that it was unrepairable and the warranty would not be honored due to acts of human sabotage, abuse, and myopia. I heard a familiar clank as the lawnmower ran over and stopped, and I stumbled on the pipe Jonah had laid on the lawn to practice his aggressive rollerblading. The familiar cry went out, "Jonah! Jonah! Jonah!" "What, Dad? Don't what, me? Come out here now." 5 minutes later, at 5 minutes and 10 later, Jonah, "Yeah, Dad. I told you to move that pipe. Didn't I tell you to move that pipe? Well, did it? And now I look, the brand new lawnmower is busted. And they're giving me the same bullshit. Sorry, sir. Will not honor the warranty. But there's a brand new lawnmower. Sorry, sir. This is clear abuse." He just stared, finally replied, "Look, Dad, you're pissed off because the Blues blew another game. You came out here in the night, mowed the lawn, hit a pipe in the dark, bust the new lawnmower, and you want me to feel guilty? Dad, call your therapist." Oh, the lessons were just beginning. I yelled, standing outside the house, is another poem about Jonah, as shrill as a 50-year-old man can be. "Jonah, come out here." "What, Dad?" "No, what? Come out here now." 5 minutes later, and the last Jonah screamed like a chant at 10-second intervals, with his Vesuvius of a father erupting in tears. "What, Dad?" "Just look at this lawn. You mowed the pachyderm. You missed the grass, and it's at all different angles. And just look at this corner, and on and on and on." This Jew emigre from a Brooklyn shtetl concrete project, screaming as if an English gentleman surveying the ruin of his private gardens. He just stood there in silence, and when I was done, looked up. Yes, he still looked up, and asked earnestly, "Well, Dad, do you want me to commit suicide because I did a lousy job mowing the lawn?" I opened my mouth to yell, but only laughter came out. He was thrown out of the rear window, a projectile. When his head hit the guardrail, the explosion destroyed our family forever. The night before the accident, I was in California at some conference. This was the next to last morning of his life. I was in California looking for God's face in the redwoods. He was one of God's children running on the soccer field. That night I slept fitfully on the plane bringing me cross country. Back home he slept at a friend's house. We never got to spend another night together. To my son, who is now transformed. A soul is energy, and Einstein, a religious man, knew that energy cannot be created or destroyed, just transformed. When did I start this? What time did I start? I don't want to overstay my welcome. And I'm not getting paid for this like a drug dinner, you know what I mean?
We're getting paid in words, so bring a good close.
Well, I'm not there yet.
I know, but I'm just saying, don't blow the clothes.
I won't blow
You got
the
the
clothes.
audience.
You're not bored yet, right? I only have another 400 pages to go. There is no end to my angst. Never any end to my angst. I'm sorry. And later, after I cried and I wailed, and I asked you, am I boring you? Are you weary of my tears? You are my friend. Tell me, are you irritated when I call for my son? What exactly are you thinking? While I sit and wait futilely for you to answer, you looked at me and said with tears in your eyes, I was thinking, thank God it's not me. His sister was driving, she fell asleep, the car flipped, he died. Since the accident, she has not left the house, she receives no calls, nor does she make any. She sits and she watches TV, she constantly eats, she has withdrawn from the world. I do not know which is worse, the pain for the living or the pain for the dead. My brother called to tell me that my elderly aunt had been taken off life support, the last of her generation to go. He asked me if I understood the significance of this event. I didn't reply. It's now our turn, he said, answering his own question. Jonah, always impatient, went out of turn. Vince, you're going to give me the high sign. Whatever high sign you give me, it's going to be, I'm going to go on for twice as long. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
You are a wonderful stage manager. Okay. I will just read a couple more Jonah poems. As soon as I find the appropriate ones, the next 4 hours. There are several questions that have been... You can imagine what it's like when you give a whore talk, right? There are several questions that have been posed previously that must be answered before I can determine if I will ever see my son again. Before several misnomers can be resolved, such as guardrail, which is head hit, death benefit, grievance allowance, funeral reimbursement. Can fire be explained to fish? Do fish know they are in water? Do birds understand the change of the skyway? When I can recount life in the room, when these elements are understood, I will touch him once again. Okay, one last Jonah poem. One last Jonah. I noticed her, an aide at the nurse's station. She wore the cell phone around her neck. She explained her mother gave it to her so she could call at a moment's notice any time, because after her 18-year-old son was murdered, she didn't feel like living anymore, but just went around screaming. Do you know what I mean, Doc? She asked. Yes, I replied. I do, but I wish I didn't. All right, I will now read some more recent poems. I wrote a series of poems about love. Where it goes, how it comes, etc., etc., because that's what it's all about. Love. Ezra. when you were born, God gave you so many gifts.